and now the first one to enter the store.
So that's the craze for the iPhone 16 Pro Max in India this year. So I'm not going to waste any time introducing this phone because there is a lot to talk about. And this is going to be our super detailed review of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And for added context, I have added comparisons against the Pixel 9 Pro XL and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So be prepared for a deluge of information, so get your popcorn and your coffee ready. Hi, I'm Ashad. You're watching Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. I'm going to start with the A18 Pro inside the iPhone 16 Pro Max because that's where I see the most improvements. It's the fastest CPU ever inside a smartphone is what Apple says, and the reason for that is because the two performance cores are clocked at 4.05 GHz and the four efficiency cores are clocked at 2.42 GHz, and this is the same core architecture that is used even in the base A18. Now, why is the A18 Pro a pro chipset compared to the A18? Because it has a 6-core GPU compared to 5-core GPU on the base A18, and you get a wider memory bandwidth and a larger cache as well. Now, apart from the SoC, you also get 8GB of LPDDR5X RAM across all the iPhone 16 phones, and you got 35 TOPS of NPU power as well. So along with that, it will all power the Apple Intelligence features that are not here yet. It's coming soon. Alright, time for the benchmarks, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max decimates the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Honestly, it's embarrassing to see the differences between the Tensor G4 and the A18 Pro. Let's take a look at it. So the A18 Pro's single core and multi-core CPU performance is roughly 45% more powerful than the Tensor G4. Plus, the quantized AI score in Geekbench AI on the Tensor G4 is absolutely abysmal. In 3D Mark Wildlife stress test, while the GPU stability is similar on both, just take a look at the best loop score and difference in frame rates here. Google, this is absolutely shameful performance for a phone that costs upward of $1 lakh. Now, of course, I know that you guys are not like Google, you're really nice people, so I know that you will hit the subscribe button and support a growing channel like Trakin Tech English, right? Do it. Now, compared to the A17 Pro inside the 15 Pro Max, the A18 Pro is roughly 13 to 15% faster in Geekbench scores, whether it's single core or multi-core. And this performance delta actually lines up with what Apple has also mentioned in their keynote. Moreover, the Geekbench AI scores are higher, of course, and in 3D Mark Steel Nomad Lite, the A18 Pro offers 30% more frame rates. Now, the GPU stability on both the phones are pretty similar, but the best loop score is, of course, higher on the A18 Pro. Now, we also played Genshin Impact at highest graphics at 60 frames per second on both these phones, and the 16 Pro Max didn't break a sweat. After 30 minutes, we got an average FPS of 58.9, and the graphics look absolutely gorgeous on this display. It's not like the 15 Pro Max is bad, but after a little while of playing the game, it did start throttling, and the average FPS, overall average FPS that we got was 49 FPS. And when you're looking at Genshin Impact gaming test, that's quite a difference in number, by the way. Also, another thing that I noticed is that if you're playing at high brightness on both these phones, the 15 Pro Max will immediately throttle the brightness and reduce it, and it happens much faster than the 16 Pro Max. So therefore, for sustained gaming loads this year, the A18 Pro inside the 16 Pro Max is absolutely incredible. Having said that, I must mention that the 16 Pro Max did get hotter than the 15 Pro Max in our test. But my hypothesis here is that since the iPhone 16 Pro Max has a new thermal substructure with graphene, I feel that it's actually dissipating the heat outside the body, and therefore you can feel it because it does cool down pretty fast. See, if you ask me, the 16 Pro Max is the gaming phone to beat this year and also next year, I'm presuming. But you know what? It doesn't end there. The A18 Pro is very power efficient, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max has great battery life. In my first run, I got a screen on time of about 7 hours, and this is with me battering the phone. I was running benchmarks, I was taking a lot of photos and videos, and of course playing games as well. And in my second run, when I was using it normally, I got about 9 hours 30 minutes of screen on time. Now, this battery life is definitely better than the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and of course the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But more importantly, the battery life is very close to something like that of the OnePlus 12 or the Vivo X100 Pro, two phones that had great battery life in my testing. But battery life is one thing. Here's a fun fact that Apple forgot to mention at the keynote. I don't know why, but this phone now charges at a faster speed. So when I did the charging test from 1% to 50%, the phone was charging at 38 watt charging speeds. Yep, that is definitely higher than the 27 watt charging speeds of the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And from 50 to 80%, it charges at 27-28 watts, and after 80%, it becomes excruciatingly slow, where the charging speeds go down to 14 watt, 11 watt, 12 watt. Anyway, it took us a total of 1 hour 30 minutes exact on the dot to charge the phone from 1% to 100%, whereas on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it takes 1 hour 55 minutes. But Apple did mention this one thing, that it supports Qi 2 standard now with the MagSafe, and the phone can charge at 25 watt speeds. But unfortunately, I couldn't test that out because that new MagSafe charger is 5,500 rupees. So overall, with respect to battery life, battery charging speeds, everything has improved on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But what continues to be excellent is the network performance. I tested out Airtel on both the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and both are pretty good with call quality, mobile data. I had no problems whatsoever. In fact, Pixel improving the network performance this year was, something that I never expected, so that happened. Now that we're done talking about the performance, it's time to talk about the cameras on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But before I talk about the quality of the photos and the videos, I really need to talk about the camera control button. Apple doesn't want to call it a button, but it's actually a button because it presses. Now, this is the start of a rant. I low-key detest the camera control. So basically how this works is, if you're in the home screen and if you press it once, then it opens the camera app. You press it once again, you can click a picture. Or you can lightly press it and slide to zoom, or lightly double press it to show all the contextual menu actions that are available. For example, you can switch out the zoom, have a portrait bokeh effect, you can have tones, all of those things. Now that's how it works, but here are the issues that I've faced while using the button. Firstly, it's very fiddly and sometimes it doesn't even register my presses. And secondly, I have pudgy fingers, so sliding across this touch surface is super annoying and very frustrating. And I also found it difficult to gauge the correct amount of pressure required to actually press and click a photo. So most of the time when I was using the camera control button to take a photo, I would end up pressing it too hard and taking an out of focus shot. Now say you've mastered the camera control button and figured out a way to use it in horizontal mode. But when you use it in vertical orientation, oh my god, it's a pain. It requires hand gymnastics to actually get it to work. The position is absolutely wrong for it to be used vertically because nobody's gonna hold the phone like this to use it. It's very weird. That's not it. Even if I was using the camera app just to take a photo with the on-screen controls, sometimes my palms would graze on the camera control button and inadvertently press it. So obviously I found nothing redeemable about this camera control and I decided to switch it off, which is possible. But here's the fun fact, it does not switch off entirely because when you open the camera app, this camera control button is always active. Yeah, so that's the end of my rant, but that's where the camera problems end. Thankfully, the camera performance itself is pretty good. So let's take a look at the comparison samples against the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Now, firstly, the 24 megapixel Pixel bin samples from the iPhone 16 Pro Max pull out way more details, sharper textures compared to the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Now, while Apple hasn't upgraded the smart HDR5 algorithm, I see a stark improvement in HDR performance. Especially take a look at this HDR sample shot on the 16 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max. Now, compared to the Pixel, the iPhone does have better control over the highlights, but Pixel pulls out more details from the shadows. Now that one HDR picture is better than the other, but iPhone's HDR look is slightly more natural compared to the slightly overprocessed look of the Pixel. I do still like the Pixel though. Now to compare the colors on these two phones, let's take a look at the default standard mode on the 16 Pro Max compared to the 9 Pro XL. Now in the default mode, the color accuracy is spot on, especially when you look at the reds on the Nike box and the shoes at the bottom. Or even when you look at the browns in the second image, it's more accurately reproduced. Sometimes the Pixel 9 Pro XL also does have the tendency to mess up the white balance, which the iPhone does not. But with the iPhone this year, it's all about the 6 undertones and the 9 moods that you get with the photographic styles. You can play around with the undertones to create your own kind of look. If you want a brighter image, if you want a darker image, a little more contrast, you can do all of that stuff that pro photographers do. Or you can use the moods to create an entirely sepia tinted look to recreate that 70s nostalgia that you might have been living. Well, that's also possible. Plus, these non-destructive photographic styles don't only work when you're taking photos, you can also do it post within the Photos app. Now, if you ask me, I'm very happy that Apple has given the control in the hands of the users, something that I always want all other brands to do. It's the best way to approach smartphone photography because then users can create their own look, right? But I'm not so sure if most average consumers would actually take the pain to create their favorite photographic style or use it according to situation. They'll probably just, point at the subject and shoot the picture. And thankfully, the 16 Pro Max does that well too, so it's okay. Alright, now moving on to the low light samples shot with these phones, you can see for yourself that both these phones actually expose the scene very similarly. You get brighter night scenes now on the 16 Pro Max, and the problem with the contrasty shadow regions, well, that's gone, thankfully. Now when you pixel peep though, what I notice is that iPhone keeps the grains in favor of the details, where Pixel's noise correction algorithm smoothens out the details slightly. And the iPhone's kind of processing is what I prefer because noise is not necessarily a bad thing if you get the details in the image. Now the ultra wide angle camera on the Pixel 9 Pro XL has a little little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation out here. In daylight, it captures sharper textures and more details than the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but in low light, the detail retention reduces and the pictures look really soft. iPhone captures more details with the ultra-wide camera. But yes, for those who like brighter pictures, then the ultra-wide shots do look brighter and better exposed on the Pixel compared to iPhone. Now, when we talk about the zoom performance on these two phones, I must start with talking about how Apple says it has 2x optical quality by cropping in to the 48MP primary camera sample because it uses some fusion technology, it seems. Initially, I was skeptical and I was like, this is not possible, but the results are pretty revealing. First, check the 1x sample compared to the 2x sample, and you can see that clearly Apple is cooking here. The 2x is extremely detailed. And it becomes even more evident when you compare the 2x to the Pixel's 2x. Apple actually does capture more details and sharper textures. Zooming on, however, Pixel's 5x camera definitely captures more details and sharper textures compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Because the 5x on the 16 Pro Max is virtually unchanged from last year. Now, when you zoom further at 10x and 25x, the 9 Pro XL definitely beats the iPhone 16 Pro Max once again. The other advantage that Pixel has is the zoom enhance feature within the Photos app, so you can actually enhance that even further in post. In macro shots, iPhone is beating the Pixel primarily because around the corners, it's not soft like the Pixel is. Alright, now let's shoot some people, and like I've noticed with brown skin tones, the Pixel 9 Pro XL does struggle and the skin tones are completely off. There is a red cast on the face. But it's not like the iPhone 16 Pro Max is entirely neutral either. This time around, they actually have warmer skin tones. But you can use the neutral photographic style to make the skin tones look more accurate, but notice that it will apply the effect to the entire image, so the entire image starts looking cool, lifeless and a little drab. Now, my observations for the skin tones with the 5x camera are also very similar. iPhone does look pretty good though. When shooting people against a harsh backlight, both these phones do a good job of bringing out the exposure from the face by controlling the highlights and lifting the shadows tastefully. But Pixel messes up the skin tones even further, so I think iPhone is better here once again. Now, if you're shooting portraits, it's iPhone all the way. Not only do you get the option to shoot at 5x, which is not possible on the Pixel, the edge detection is better compared to the 3x of the Pixel, and the bokeh drop-off looks much more natural too. Plus, I don't even have to spell it out, the skin tones are more realistic on the iPhone. Pixel's 2x portraits are not bad in comparison to the iPhone, but again, I think iPhone is better. As for the selfies, both are almost equally good, but the iPhone has a more natural look compared to the Pixel's warm, more attractive look. But the 4K 60fps videos shot using the iPhone selfie camera are way better than the Pixel's, that's for sure. Which brings me to video recording, and iPhone's video recording in daylight samples I noticed was better than Pixel despite using the video boost option. Now, what you get are fantastic details and dynamic range and far superior audio recording on the iPhone. So now we're recording a video at 4K 60fps using the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Talking about audio recording, you can actually use the new audio mix option with 4 studio quality mics on the iPhone. It's a game changer if you ask me. Apart from the standard audio that has been recorded, you can actually have an in-frame audio, studio kind of audio, and cinematic audio. I shot this scene especially to check out how the cinematic audio quality works because I was trying to create a scene and the results are pretty impressive. Take a look at the differences between all the 4 audio mixes. It is definitely better than Magic Eraser on the Pixel, by the way.
What happened to your esports career after 2021?
After 2021 lockdown came and then
2021 के बाद लॉकडाउन था आया था
मतलब वो मेरे लाइफ में लॉकडाउन
Oh, okay, understood.
Okay.
What changed after 2020?
nothing much.
Another game changer on the iPhone this year is the 4K 120fps option. It's the best 4K 120fps video recording on a phone yet. Just look at the slowed down footage here in comparison to Pixel's 1080p footage. Pixel is no match. In fact, you can shoot 4K 120fps high frame rate videos in regular video mode and then slow it down in post as well. And I'm not even getting to the fact that you can actually shoot ProRes log videos in 4K 120fps resolution. Of course, you have to connect an SSD to your phone to be able to do that. Now, while the video recording quality on the iPhone is so good, Pixel's video boost in low light does have a huge advantage. Now take a look at the iPhone 16 Pro Max against the Pixel without video boost, and now we switch on video boost and take a look at the difference. Of course, it doesn't make night look like night, but it brings out a lot of details. So the design of the 16 Pro Max is virtually unchanged from last year. So you get the same iconic 3-camera layout and the glass plus metal sandwich design as well. There's the same IP68 rating, Type-C Gen 3.2, the action button, and of course the new camera control button, which of course I'm not a fan of. Now the major difference between the two is the fact that the 16 Pro Max is heavier and bigger this time around because it has a larger display. That's it. Now, one of the things that everybody talks about a lot every year the new iPhones are launched are the colors. And this year's 16 Pro Max models are looking very drab compared to the Pixel 9 Pro XL. The 9 Pro XL's redesigned look this year is absolutely incredible, plus the colors are so good. It's not just this pink, I really like that hazel 9 Pro XL. It's one of the most gorgeous looking phones ever made. The industrial design of the 9 Pro XL is so good that I actually think that Google made a better iPhone than Apple did. It has the same levels of fit and finish except for the fact that you do not get a titanium frame and you get an aluminum one. But with respect to the weight and the in-hand feel, both are actually pretty similar except for the fact that the 16 Pro Max feels slightly denser. But the one thing that I still don't like about the Pixel, and that continues to irritate me, is the fact that the power button is placed above the volume rocker. It's very annoying. Now, talking about the display, the 16 Pro Max actually has a slightly larger display compared to the Pixel 9 Pro XL and much slimmer bezels as well. Both are absolutely fantastic OLED panels and they've got excellent color accuracy, so much so that when you actually check the color accuracy side by side, you really cannot tell a difference between the two. But in my testing, I noticed one thing is that the Pixel 9 Pro XL in auto brightness mode, when you have it directly under sunlight, it actually gets brighter than the iPhone 16 Pro Max because it can reach 3000 nits of peak brightness as opposed to 2000 nits on the iPhone. But indoors, when you're watching HDR content on YouTube or Netflix, iPhone is actually brighter than the Pixel. Now, talking about the stereo speakers, I couldn't really tell the difference between the two. Actually, you take a listen to it for yourself and let me know which one you prefer, but I think both are almost equally identical. Although there is one advantage on the 9 Pro XL is that you get support for high-res Bluetooth codecs like LDAC and LHDC because it's an Android phone. Apple does not believe in high-res lossless wirelessly. So yeah, keep that in mind. Alright, finally it's time to talk about iOS 18 versus Android 14. And truth be told, I like Pixel software experience this year primarily because you get AI out of the box. You get Gemini advanced integration, you've got Pixel Screenshots app, you've got Pixel Studio, Pixel Weather, you've got Magic Editor. There is a lot happening on the Pixel phones and Apple Intelligence is not here yet. Of course, Apple Intelligence will come with iOS 18.1 and I've already used it on the 15 Pro Max and it's very, very good. Writing tools are nice. There are a lot of different AI features that actually, happen on device more so than the Pixel. But all of that you cannot, test right now. It's still in beta and we cannot test beta software. So technically right now, Pixel has an advantage, but next month it might not. Anyway, with iOS 18 itself, you get a bunch of new features. For example, the fact that you can actually theme your icons, you can move the icons wherever you want to, you can move widgets wherever you want to. Hey, wait a second. That sounds like Android because it is very Android-like now. But it is the 18.1 update with the new Siri animation that everybody is possibly waiting for. Alright, so this review has turned out to be much longer than I expected it to be. So I'll keep the conclusion a little short. Forget the camera control or the Apple Intelligence this year, which is easy to forget considering it's not here yet. But what you need to know is that in the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the A18 Pro is the real deal. And of course, the 4K 120 FPS and audio mix features are nice additions too. So the upgrades to the iPhone 16 Pro Max from the 15 Pro Max, I feel are worth it despite the fact that it's not substantial and definitely iterative. And I say iterative because the iPhone 15 Pro Max will also get Apple Intelligence and I don't really care about the fact that it doesn't have a camera control button. Now compared to the Pixel 9 Pro XL, I don't even have to spell it. I like the 16 Pro Max better. But will all of this matter to an iPhone fan who will buy the iPhone 16 Pro Max waiting in line for 21 hours, 22 hours? Not really. So that was our detailed review of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So what other videos would you like to see? Let me know in the comment section below. Also get some creative ideas in there. Let's see if we can do something creative for you guys. Alright, I'll see you guys at the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.